All right, Jeff Zimmerman here with Amer Abdallah here in Dallas, Team Mike Tyson. What's up, Amer?
How are you, Jeff? Good to see you again, brother.
Good to see you, man. Like I've said in the past, man, you're one of the most, I don't know if it's underrated guys in boxing. Like there's got to be something for you. You got your hands in so many things in boxing. And when I saw you working with Mike, I knew this stuff was serious. Talk about it.
First of all, I appreciate you saying that. I'd like to, stay behind the scenes, and we do a lot of things with a lot of great athletes and a lot of great events. And we've had a great track record, up to this point, and hopefully, God willing, that this is the beginning of many more things. And there's a lot more exciting things, in the pipeline. But no, I appreciate you saying that, and we'll continue to, God willing, keep growing in bigger events and bigger athletes and whatnot. As far as Mike Tyson goes, I've been, I don't want to say friends, but brothers with Mike for over a decade now, and had the pleasure of representing him as his Middle Eastern representative and his boxing advisor. So Mike's taken this fight. It's the biggest fight in the history of combat sports. Netflix, 280 million people. When you talk about big events, you talk about astounding numbers like 4.6 million Mayweather-Pacquiao, 4.2 million Mayweather-McGregor. You're talking about 280 million people that can see this thing for free. It's massive. It's a massive stage.
What is your role in camp with him, Amer? I know you've been a world champion yourself, and working with a legend like Mike. What exactly are you doing with Mike in camp?
I'm from the boxing advisory standpoint. I put together, outside of Coach Rafael Cordero and of course Billy White, head coach, I put together the rest of the team. Obviously, we brought in Stitch, we brought in his personal trainers, his strength and conditioning coaches, his nutritionists, his massage therapist. We assembled the camp there, and then from a boxing perspective, I advise Mike on the boxing part of the sport, and Mike takes my advice sometimes and doesn't take my advice sometimes. And at the end of the day, my job is to support whatever decision he makes, but to give him the sound advice that I believe is what he needs to hear.
He looks in tremendous shape. I mean, what have you seen from him? Obviously he's not going to be the 21-year-old Mike Tyson.
Right.
But, yesterday moving around kind of, side to side like you used to do back in the day. What have you seen from him?
It's unbelievable when you watch how he moves, when you watch how he hits, when you watch his conditioning, how he trains. We're kicking Mike out of the gym 9 days out of 10. Just telling him, Mike, you got to go home. You got to go home. That's enough training. No, we don't need to spar anymore. We don't need to do any more reps. We don't need to do any more rounds. We're done. And Mike's just, the way he does one thing is the way he does everything. Mike's always been that guy to go all in. He burns his ships when he gets to the shores. It's either I win or I die. And that's been his mentality in training. So it's no surprise to me to see how far he's progressed, how he looks, how he feels. I'll tell you, in putting the team together, the conversations that we have is get Mike to the fight healthy. That's the most important thing, because as you know, in training camp is when all the bumps and the bruises happen, and fighters hope that they enter the fight at 80, 85%, 90%. Mike's at 100%. There are zero issues that Mike has. Conditioning-wise, he's great. Power-wise, he's unbelievable. Agility-wise, I can't believe he can still move the way that he does. And he's doing everything that I wanted to see in camp and more. So I'm very confident. I mean, yeah, you still have a 58-year-old guy fighting, a mid-20-year-old up-and-coming kid. So obviously there's that factor. But am I worried about it? No, not at all.
I talked to your old friend yesterday, Coach Larry Wade. Little friendly competition there. Lots of respect, obviously, competing against you. He talked about Jake bringing in like massive heavyweights to kind of, I think, to resemble potential power of Mike. What are your thoughts? I mean, getting hit by Mike Tyson, that's the last thing to go, though, right, is the power.
First of all, I represent Larry Wade, so Larry is not just a friend of mine. He's actually somebody that I look after, and we have a brotherhood, and I admire Larry. I admire his family. His family is like my family. But yeah, Friday night we're on opposite sides of the sword, and I told him, I'll talk to you on the 16th. I have nothing to say to you before that, and I respected the privacy of not being, interrogating him on what's happening in Jake's camp, and him the same way. We're professionals at what we do, but. Really, Larry, I mean, if you're going to bring in somebody to emulate Mike Tyson, if you could emulate Mike Tyson, why hasn't anybody been able to do that in the ring, right? You're not going to bring in anybody to emulate Mike at the end of the day. I don't care if you bring in somebody that can hit hard, he's not going to be able to move like Mike. I don't care if you bring in somebody that can move like Mike, he's not going to have the agility like Mike. So you can bring in whatever you want and whoever you want. At the end of the day, there's one Mike Tyson, and Friday you're going to see who that is.
What are your thoughts about Jake as a fighter, just from when he started on Mike's undercard with Roy,
Yeah.
to where he is now?
I mean, I'll tell you, I'm a huge admirer of Jake. I really am. I mean, again, Friday night we're on opposite sides of the sword. I had the honor, and I call it an honor and a privilege, to promote Jake's fight in Saudi Arabia, and the one fight that he lost against Tommy Fury. And you know, things happened during that fight that people didn't know about, that Jake had every excuse to pull out of the fight, and he didn't. And I found out about it a week before the fight, and I had a conversation with Nikisa. He's like, Jake wants this fight. And he went into the fight probably at 60%. And a lot of people don't know that. And what I admire about Jake is he never, ever made an excuse about that. But putting all of that aside, I think he's done great. I think, and Mike and I share the same sentiments. He's disrupting the sport. He's bringing new eyeballs to the sport. He's bringing a lot more money to the sport. Look what Amanda Serrano has been able to net and be able to make. Look at the stages she's been on because she's under the MVP banner. You got to give him credit for that. And I know it's easy to hate the kid because he makes it easy. He's a content creator. He knows, he knows what he's doing. Everything that he says, he knows what he's doing. Both him and Logan know exactly what they're doing. They're very calculated at what they do. So I appreciate that. I do admire Jake. I like the kid. On a personal level, I think he's a good kid. And the guys that he has around him are friends of mine. Jay Leon Love is a brother of mine. Third is a friend of mine. He's under the Kronk umbrella. So it's all family. But this is business, and he's fighting my guy, which means none of that matters to me. Mike Tyson is my guy, and on Friday, November 15th, he's got to go in there and take care of that business. But outside of that, how do I feel about Jake? I think he's doing great for boxing. I really do.
Mike was obviously different on stage tonight than he was back in the heyday, when he had a lot to say. Were you surprised at his demeanor?
No. You got to remember who Mike Tyson was at 21. I mean, who are you at 21, and then who are you today, right? Mike Tyson at 21 was not the kind of guy that could survive until 58. Mike's gone through so much in life, so many ups, so many downs, so many setbacks, and he hates to use the word humble because he believes nobody can say humble about themselves. But he's had so many situations that have happened that he's changed his perspective. Mike's enjoying his life. He's loving his life. He's looking back at that 21-year-old Mike Tyson. He's like, that guy can't be a part of my life today. But when it comes to a fight like this, that old Mike Tyson peeks his head back into the door, and I believe Mike, is trying to keep that guy away. But at the same time, he knows that guy is necessary to get the job done. It's give and take on both ends. But he's not the same guy, and I don't expect him to be the same guy. But what I do expect, and what has been happening, is he's in fight mode now. He's not trying to play around. And if you look at the press conferences in New York and the press conferences today, they're totally different Mike Tyson. He doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to do any other interviews other than he has to do. He doesn't want to do anything else other than get in the ring and fight Jake Paul. That's what he wants.
What should we expect Friday night? And 280 million Netflix, maybe close to 70,000 in AT&T Stadium. What should we expect?
What an event! What an event! What an experience to be a part of it. I think Mike puts him to sleep early. I really do. I think Mike jumps out there, and it'll take him very little time to figure out Jake, and the experience will play a big role in it. The power will play a big role in it. The tenacity will play a big role in it. And Mike's fighting for a lot, so I just hope that he comes out of the fight healthy, and they both come out of the fight healthy, and Mike emerges victorious, and it's a big win for hardcore boxing fans.
You think Mike's one and done, Amer?
God, I hope so. I really do. But Mike Tyson's going to do what Mike Tyson's going to do, and I'll support him every single step that he takes. But I want him to live his life, enjoy his life. He's doing so great in so many different businesses that he's in. But he's a fighter. Mike's just a fighter. I mean, he just loves the fight game. So we'll see what happens.
Last question for you. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your world champion, Badu Jack, who's just a fighter too. He keeps fighting. What's the latest on him? Is he getting back in the ring?
So Badu's got a very interesting situation. We had paid a step-aside fee for him to fight for the Bridgerweight title, and then things changed, of course, in the kingdom, and that fight didn't come to fruition. So we missed the opportunity for the Bridgerweight fight. He's a champion in recess at Cruiserweight, so he would have fought, to be a 4-division world champion. Then we had plans for something else for him. So now he's trying to land a tune-up fight and then get back into title contention to fight for that Cruiserweight title once again. But Badu's always in the gym. He's ready to go. He's the people's champion. He's a blood and guts guy.
He's not stopping, huh?
No, he won't.
Amer, good to see you here in Dallas. Thanks, man.